So, what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video where today I am going to be breaking down exactly what's going on in the classified ending cutscene. This is extremely interesting, and also the way you get it is very interesting as well. However, thinking about it, I don't think they're too different from what we expected. Treyarch said that this Easter egg is going to divide the community, that it is different, only some people are going to be able to get it. And well, that's the case because in order to see this in your game, there is no official Easter egg quest. It is just to do with high rounds, and you have to reach round 150, which wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't blue screens in the game. And the other reason is because of what ciphers we found so far in Classified, and also what we saw happen in the Blood of the Dead ending. Well, this is kind of what we expected to happen. This Easter egg ending was solved and found first by the Gaming Revolution, DK Dynamite and Pluto. In order to get this, you have to reach round 150, and due to the amount of blue screening that you're gonna get, it is literally almost impossible reaching this round. However, these guys have done it, so massive credit to them. I will link them down in the description. Also, the reason why it looks a little bit weird is because it's in cartoon mode. I believe if you play in that, there's a less chance that you're going to blue screen. I just think they forgot to turn it off or something. Anyway, let's get into it.
Yes, we saw it destroyed, yet here we are.
It's more time travel bullshit tech. Just hasn't happened yet. Speaking of BS. How the hell did you get back in your body, Doc?
Does it matter, Dempsey?
I'll tell you what matter. Americans still give Nikolai his vodka. Is that your plan, Nikolai? To give up and drink yourself to oblivion? Or do you want to make a difference for once in your life?
You. Oh, Scheiße.
You four must come with us. In time, it will make sense. But now...
Intruders on the base. Hangar 4.
Now we must go, quickly. There is a war to be fought.
War? What kind of war?
A war unlike any you have ever seen. The Great War.
So obviously this cutscene takes place after Blood of the Dead, where in that ending, we know that our Primus crew got trapped in Alcatraz. They were trapped in this pocket dimension, and the only way for them to escape and break the cycle was for Richtofen to sacrifice his blood. And so as we saw at the end, Primus Richtofen sat down on the machine, he gave his blood, he sacrificed himself. I've already fully explained the Blood of the Dead ending. I will link it down in the description if you are interested. But as I was saying, once Primus Richtofen began to give his blood, Primus, Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey, along with post-Revelations Richtofen, then went off on their quest to defeat Dr. Monty. Post-Revelations Richtofen gave Nikolai the Knorrium and basically told him that he is now the leader. Because he is the only one left with a soul, he needs to take the Knorrium, read it, find out about his future and past, find out what he needs to do in order to stop Dr. Monty, and go ahead and do that. They also all destroyed their own blood vials, so all of the blood vials that the Primus characters had were smashed and thrown on the floor. They weren't needed anymore since the cycle was broken. And then all four of those characters, post-Revelations Richtofen, along with Primus, Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey, left through separate rifts out of the Alcatraz dimension, whilst Primus Richtofen was left here to die. That is where the Blood of the Dead ending left off, and as we now find out, they in fact travelled to Groom Lake, Classified, where we have our four older Ultimus characters of Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen locked in a cage in Hangar 4. Again, we know how these characters got here. It was because the Pentagon were doing testing on the teleporter down at Groom Lake, where one day they accidentally teleported the Ultimus characters down from Moon. As we know, after the Moon ending, after Richtofen swapped bodies with Samantha, Ultimus, Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen were now left trapped helplessly on the moon. However, Richtofen was inside of the MPD, inside of Samantha's body, controlling the zombies, and Samantha was inside of Richtofen's body, trapped on the moon along with the other characters. That was until, however, Buried came along, where Maxis eventually took control of the zombies. He travelled back in time and plucked Samantha's soul out of Richtofen's body, leaving those characters still trapped on moon. However, Richtofen now no longer had a soul, so his body became catatonic. And then, as I was just saying, eventually those 4 characters got teleported from moon down to Groom Lake by the Pentagon, and when they found all 4 of these characters, they were in very bad condition. All 4 of them should have been dead, but for some reason were still alive. Due to the element 115 they'd been exposed to over time, it had scrambled their minds. These characters should have been very much dead, especially Richtofen. Due to him no longer having a soul, his body was catatonic. He was brain dead, however, for some reason he was still alive. And so, the Pentagon took all 4 of these Ultimus characters, they locked them in the cell in Hangar 4, and planned to use them as their test subjects. That was until, however, not long after, zombified Richtofen teleported into the hangar. He touched Ultimus Richtofen's body and gave him his soul, which brought Ultimus Richtofen back to life and meant zombie Richtofen turned into dust. So all 4 of the Ultimus characters were now alive in Hangar 4, yet still trapped there. And that is when this cutscene kicks in, where we see our 4 Ultimus characters sitting down in the cell. Takeo says to the crew, the Earth is destroyed, yet here we are. Dempsey replies, it's more time travel bullshit, Tak. It just hasn't happened yet. Speaking of BS, and he then walks up to Ultimus Richtofen and says to him, how the hell did you get back in your body, Doc? Richtofen then does his evil laugh and says, does it matter, Dempsey? Of course, like I said, Richtofen's soul left his body when they were on the moon, and it went inside of Samantha's so he could take control of the zombies. Dempsey is asking him, how the hell did he get back in his body? Because, of course, he doesn't know that zombie Richtofen came here and gave his soul to Ultimus Richtofen. But Nikolai then says, I'll tell you what happened. Americans still give Nikolai vodka. He drinks it, and then a rift opens inside of the cell. The Primus crew walk out. Nikolai says to his Ultimus self, is that your plan, Nikolai? To give up and drink yourself into oblivion? Or do you want to make a difference for once in your life? Primus Richtofen and Ultimus Richtofen come face to face again, just like they did in the Giants. Ultimus Richtofen says to the Primus version, you. Oh, Shizer. And then all 8 of the characters come face to face with themselves, and Nikolai says, you 4 must come with us. In time, it will make sense. And then you hear an alarm in the background from Groom Lake, warning that intruders have entered the facility. Nikolai then says, now we must go quickly. There is a war to be fought. A war unlike any you have ever seen. The Great War. And the Great War, of course, was the one that took place in the late 1300s. It began in 1292 between humanity and the Apothicans, and ended in 1299, where Primus defeated the Apothicans, bringing the Great War to an end. This, right here that we see at the end of the Revelations cutscene, this is the Great War they are talking about. And it seems like all 8 of our characters, the Ultimus and the Primus, are going back here to the Great War to stop Dr. Monty in his tracks. And that is the classified ending explained. Of course, you can see that none of our Primus characters have their blood vials, since they destroyed them back in Blood of the Dead. And I believe the biggest question you may be asking is, well, why is Primus Richtofen here instead of post-Revelations Richtofen? Primus Richtofen died in Blood of the Dead, yet we can see him here again in Classified. He shouldn't be here, right? It should in fact be post-Revelations Richtofen. Well, that's true, and this is again interesting. You can clearly see that Primus Richtofen here doesn't have his blood vials, just like the other characters. So this is definitely after Blood of the Dead, and Primus Richtofen should be dead. However, we also know there are multiple Primus Richtofens. For example, there is the other one that we saw in the Blood of the Dead intro, the one that left through the rift. Possibly this is him. This is that Richtofen, a different one. I know some people have said that this is the post-Revelations Richtofen, and he's just changed his clothes into his normal outfit, which could be possible, but that'd be a bit strange. I'm thinking this is just one of the many other Primus Richtofens that exist, and more than likely is the alternate one that we saw in the Blood of the Dead intro. It seems like he set Richtofen up to die so he could leave and then join the crew to finish this for himself. And that is where the cutscene ends. This is very interesting. I love this. It's not too far from what we expected, where we have all 8 of our characters meeting up and they're gonna go off to defeat Dr. Monty in the Great War. It's gonna be interesting to see if that means we're gonna be playing an 8-player zombies map. Are we going to be playing all 8 of these characters in one map during the Great War? That'll be interesting. Or will we just get to choose which ones? I really don't know. But yeah, does that mean now that we're going to have only one more zombies map with this crew in this storyline going to defeat Dr. Monty? Or are they going to go to other places before they eventually go to the Great War? Maybe they're going to go and collect pieces of the original staffs. Because as we saw in the Blood of the Dead ending, post-Revelations Richtofen had a piece of the fire staff. He used that to banish the evil from Alcatraz, so maybe they go and do other quests before going to the Great War, meaning we'll have more maps with these crew. I'm not really sure. However, that is it for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.
Now we must go, quickly. There is a war to be fought.
War? What kind of war?
A war unlike any you have ever seen.